Shalom everyone, my name is Yvonne and welcome to Hidden Scriptural Truths Revealed. I hope you're all busy getting ready for the Passover as it starts this coming week. And today's video is called the Passing and the Passover, and I would like to start with the passing. With a very heavy heart, I have some very sad news which I would like to share with you today, and that is that my beloved husband GERRY has passed away. What a sad loss, and it's been so hard for me to accept, as he was such a fighter, always on the go, could never sit still. If he was not busy in our vegetable garden, he was fixing something or busy with scriptural research for his next video. I think of him as the Eliyahu of today. Today, our modern times. He really hoped he could change the world, bring people out of Christianity, get the world to see the scriptural truths. However, that was not so. Towards his last few weeks, he really thought he was the only one in the world, just like Eliyahu, knowing and sharing the scriptural truths. His last video, which he did not get to record, was titled, "Neither cast your pearls before swine," Matthew 13:38. He truly believed he was doing just that. May you rest in peace, my darling husband, my warrior for Yahuwah. However, there are more YouTube channels out there proclaiming the truth, but even fewer that have the truth 100% correct. If they're not using the incorrect names like Yahweh or Yeshua, they claim the Sabbath is not on Saturday, and so on. They are very much tares between the wheat. Okay, let's move on to the Passover. Another major translation error is that it seems the Messiah, Yahusha, had Pesach, Passover meal with his disciples. However, this was not so, and today I would like to show you the truth. Let's go back to the book of Exodus, how Yahuwah instructed the people to keep the Passover feasts. I've quoted here from the King James Version, but just replaced Lord to Yahuwah. Exodus 12:11. "And thus shall ye eat it with your loins girded, and your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it in haste. It is Yahuwah's Passover." As you can see by this, you basically have to be ready to move quickly, not seated or lounging about. Okay, many of you will say, well, that was because they had to get ready to leave Egypt. Fair enough, but to honor Yahuwah, I believe the Israelites had to continue to eat this meal. Just like that, ready, standing, that is just what I feel. But let's go on to the next verse. In Exodus 12:22. "And ye shall take a bunch of the hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning." This is very clear verse to me. People are to stay inside their homes until morning. Now let us walk through the period of time when Yahusha was put to death. On Wednesday, the 14th Abib Nisan, the day before the Passover starts at night, Yahusha was in Jerusalem for the Last Supper with his disciples. Matthew 26:20-30. After the meal, they went outside. Then his betrayal, his arrest, his trial that night, and part of the day. Matthew 27:24. In frustration with the crowd, Pilate took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, "I am innocent of the blood of this just man." Quite a statement for a Roman general to state about a Hebrew. Then Yahusha was led away to be put to death at Golgotha, Calvary, a place nigh to the city, outside the north wall between Herod's and the Damascus gates. This was the very same time The people's lambs were being killed, and Jerusalem was very crowded. John 19:17-20. There was a rush to remove the bodies before sunset at 1800 hour on Wednesday, because after the sunset the Feast of Unleavened Bread began. John 19:31. That the bodies should not remain on the stake on the Sabbath day, for the Sabbath day was a high day. This is proof, and again verifies verse Exodus 12:22. The two important notes is that this is truly how it happened, and yet was not translated correctly. Number 2, Yahushua would never do anything to go against the Almighty Heavenly Father, Yahuwah. Therefore, if it was truly the Pesach meal with the disciples, he disobeyed his Father. Now in all the Bibles, Matthew 26:17 will read as follows. On the first day of the festival of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Yahushua and asked, "Where do you want us to make preparation for you to eat the Passover?" However, in the Jerusalem Bible, there is a footnote next to unleavened bread, and it reads, unleavened bread was normally to be eaten during the 7 days which followed the Passover supper. Here the writer appears to mean the first day of the whole Passover celebration. So this clearly would tell you that it couldn't have been unleavened bread yet, because the Passover meal had not yet taken place. Let's read John 13:23. Now there was leaning on Yahushua's bosom one of his disciples whom Yahushua loved. Now in the Greek text, in the Interlinear Bible, the word reclining is written, and from Strong's Concordance Bible, reclining, number 345, is to lean, lie down, sit at a table. And 345 comes from number 2749, which means to lie outstretched. As you can see, they were very laid back, casual, nothing like the Passover meal should be eaten. And then they went outside. I do not have to give you any verses, as you know that they went outside. Yahushua prayed outside in Gethsemane, and his disciples fell asleep. Then a bit later, he was arrested. That again was not to be done on the Passover evening. The instruction was to stay indoors. I do believe that the Jews still do this today. They stay indoors. Thus, the Messiah did not have the Passover meal with his disciples, but it was indeed his last supper with his disciples. Yahushua is our Passover. He is our sacrificial lamb. The prophecy has been fulfilled. So when he died at the stake, the prophecy had been fulfilled. Now, my family and I have an evening meal on Monday the 22nd of April in remembrance of the Messiah. We have soup, wine, and proper bread that is used to dunk into our soup, read scriptures. Then the evening of the 23rd of April, the start of the Pesach, we will just have normal food, no lamb, but with the unleavened bread. We do not slaughter a lamb, nor do we roast any meat. I hope this has cleared up any confusion you may have had, because when reading the scriptures, it can be confusing and makes you believe that the Messiah had the Passover meal with his disciples, and that was just not possible. That was just not so. Otherwise, if he did have a Pesach meal with his disciples, he would be going against the Father's word and instructions, disobeying his Father. Okay, that is all for today. I will continue with Jerry's work to share the scriptural truth to everyone that has ears to hear. Until next time, Shalom.